everybody. Welcome to Anatomical Gangster. I'm your host, Sue Hitzman. I know a lot of you guys know I've been in the fitness industry for pretty much all of my life. And there has been a tool that I've used many times in training and classes called the BOSU ball. Well, I had no idea that the guy that created it is David Weck. I actually discovered David on Instagram a number of years ago, but the BOSU ball has been around longer than me, it seems, in the fitness industry. You know, it's a balance trainer and it's a tool that's revolutionized functional fitness and balance training. And David is very outspoken on social media. He's got a super creative mind, unconventional approach. He's created numerous tools. He's got a couple of new ones that you're going to learn about in this podcast. And he's not only shaped the way people train, he really sparks conversations about biomechanics and movement efficiency. So I'm thrilled to talk about his innovations, his inventions, and his philosophies that really drive his work. If you're brand new to this podcast, make sure that you subscribe below. I hope that you share this one with your friends and you enjoy the conversation. And of course, subscribe and let me know what you guys think with the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts about what you're going to hear about in this podcast. And I hope you enjoy it. Here's David Weck. So, David, thanks so much for coming on Anatomical Gangster. I've been looking forward to this conversation since our chat on the phone. So I really appreciate the time.
Well, likewise, I think it's a huge opportunity to spread the message, right? The
Yes.
fascial integration with the world. And you've been in this world super deep for a long, long time.
Yeah.
I've been more peripheral, but I've been studying it as well. And it's sort of this is the nexus point to where the industry all comes together because we have the correct information, and now we're all going to start to march together at the fundamental level, and then we can all do our unique things that make us different. But from a standpoint, and pardon the pun but don't pardon it, from a standpoint of perfectly balanced locomotion.
Yeah, what
And
an idea. It's like such a big idea in the first place. He was talking about the industry. You have been a real touch point in the fitness industry, to which I did not know that you're the dude that created one of the most popular tools in fitness, the BOSU ball. And I've been following you on social media probably for about maybe 3 years. My friend Aaron Alexander had pointed me, you're like, you're going to love this dude. Check him out. And I follow you on social. I see all these great posts and all of the things that you're trying to bring forward. So I want you to first give everybody your philosophy of what you're looking to do and what your primary message is.
okay, so what I say is that breathing is your most important function, okay? But more important than water and food, if you don't have water and food, is locomotion, swinging, throwing, catching, carrying, beginning with locomotion, ending with locomotion. So locomotion is the function that bridges all the other functions that we're going to do. And my hypothesis is if we can perfect the balance on one foot to establish what I call a poised to pounce, right now ready, not getting tired position with perfect balance on one foot, meaning I'm harnessing the power of the skeleton to free the fascia. And it requires a very specific position, which is visual equity, which means you don't got to pay me to do it, but everybody knows if you're powered by Weck method, or if you're still trapped in the nonsense, the bucket of crabs telling you to squeeze your spine stiff, the nonsense that we'll talk about, what I believe to be the catastrophic consequences of making that mistake and being bullies in the process of foisting it upon us. But my philosophy is establish perfect physical integrity on your right foot, perfect integrity on your left foot, and then learn a rope flow that gives you perfect transitions to these fundamental positions that relate to gait, locomotion, swinging, throwing, catching, carrying. And mailbox money from the BOSU ball gave me the Gladwell book, the Outliers book. Okay,
Sure.
well, he says 10,000 hours. I'm above 80,000 hours.
You must be. I mean, first of all, yeah, like the BOSU ball has so many different uses. There's just so much to it. And is it that it stands for both sides up, right? That's what BOSU stood for. Yeah. And you're saying,
Originally,
yeah.
originally.
And
So
what does
it,
it
it
stand for?
stands ever since in 1999, it stood for both sides up. And in 2000, probably June of 2000, it shifted, snap your fingers, to both sides utilized. speaking about your brain, speaking about your body, speaking about the Tao itself. And if you speak about the Tao, what you've spoken is not the Tao because it's the Tao, right?
Right, right,
So
right.
the only way we can understand things is polarity,
Yes,
right? That's,
polarity is it. You like that's what I was going to say is, you're talking about an integral point of polarity, and life exists because of polarity. You don't have polarity, you don't have life. And locomotion and balancing on one foot, when you think of just gait patterning, I mean, for all the years I studied gait patterning to me is a balancing act. Your 80% of gait is a balancing act on one foot. So you watch old people walk and they shuffle, they waddle side to side. Why? Because they can't balance on one foot. So I love the idea of all of these masses. You're trying to get people to get out of the robotronic state of patterning, and you're getting
yes.
them into what gait pattern and what locomotion is, which is a succession of spirals. There's a spiraling action that's moving around some center. And if you can't balance on one leg, you're not going to master that. And if you can't have locomotion, then you're not going to have catching and swinging and rotation or anything, flexion, extension, side bending, rotation, abduction. You can't have it if you're not moving forward in life in general. So I totally, that was probably one of the biggest things that drew me to you, was the jump roping techniques, and watching a lot of these guys who have been trained by you. Their physical form is so fantastic, and you see how using a rope can really fundamentally utilize every muscle in your body, every aspect of your form from head to toe. And so I really think that on top of the BOSU ball, having this whole rope program that you have is pretty fantastic.
Well, yes, and the rope flow, the secret of rope flow is by not jumping through the rope, it forces us to rotate, and we develop the unified beat where everything in the body spirals and goes down, and then everything comes up. Jumping rope, which is good, it's a syncopated beat, meaning the hands go down, but the feet go up. And this is really good when I got to change my feet in a boxing ring or whatever, but it's not so good when I need to move over there 10 yards, run fast.
Yeah.
Then I need the beat. So in priority hierarchy, the beat comes first, that's more important, and then syncopating the beat comes second.
Mm.
And if you don't syncopate the beat and own it, integrate it, every molecule of your mass working in harmony, because that's how you're going to actualize your potential. It's the logical foundation.
Yes,
And
I'm going to 100% agree with that. And what you're also now tying back into is fascia, because the
yes,
the
yes,
elastic property of fascia, right? When we actually work in more of that flow where you're going down with the rope, that's going to help you with that shock absorbability more than the jump roping. Although jump roping, I do agree, is a fantastic technique. I mean, a lot of people can't jump rope, and I think, well, don't not do it. Go check out David Weck's stuff and learn how to do flow rope and move your
the
body with the rope.
the and one of the principles we say here at Weck Method is we want to weaponize the movement,
Hmm.
weaponize the tool.
Say more.
So so basically, if we raise the stakes where survival is now, in the balance, that focuses the mind, extremely. And imagine 100,000 years ago, you're on the hunt 3 days, and the one that you were chasing somehow got lost and you didn't catch it.
Yeah.
That could be like a massive problem, right? So everything is now attenuated down to this absolute perfection of efficiency,
Hmm.
right? And it has to be that way, otherwise they don't survive. And God made every animal on this earth capable of locomoting with perfect balance, and we were the most efficient, which meant we could chase anything down because we're more efficient, and we're not more efficient out of balance. That's impossible. Our advantage is that the bipedal structure upright creates the most vertical potential, and
Hmm.
it's a big complex soup to orchestrate it. Takes a while to learn it for us because we're so plastic, and we'll learn all fours if that's all we're exposed to. So the mirror neuron will osmotically educate the other human being, and you're speaking English, I'm speaking English, the people listening speak English. They didn't study English, it was osmosis. Mirror neurons, positive, negative reinforcement. Here we go. Now,
Yeah.
with the subject of fascia, okay, if you're going to fully understand the functional aspects of fascia, that is contingent upon your understanding of the skeleton that frees the fascia to be fluid. And People think of like, oh, you got to stack your bones. Well, actually, no, as you know, and I know, the bones, they float, the bones bend, and the bones bounce.
Hmm.
If you look at an athlete when they're 20 or 25, okay, versus when they're 40 or 45, at 45 they can be a lot stronger than they were at 25, but
Yeah.
they will not run as fast and they will not jump as high. And
Mm.
I think that one of the principal causal factors in that diminution of function, you can't jump as high, can't run as fast, it's found in the bones. So if you think of a bow and arrow, all of the power comes from the bone. Now we aren't 100% non-contractile with the string the way the bow is. So the string has a lot more participation in us, but what's it pulling on? What's it connected to? It's connected to the bones. And again, to achieve perfect balance, you have to coil the spine. And that's what differentiates it. And the differentiation is what allows us to root 100% of our weight with the head here or with the head here, and the center of mass didn't change. And I'm on one leg, which means I got bandwidth to be outside the foot, inside the foot, with no upset in balance. I'm not getting tired. I'm not like working hard. My quad is not burning. So that is skeletal transmission that now lets the fascia send force fluidly. And what I'm interested in, the best movement possible, is not a lot of muscular fibers going. What I want is I want the bing, 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 bing. Like when you watch someone really fast with their shirt off from behind, you can see ripples of fluid just sending down their back. He's not stiff. She's not stiff, right? They're fluid and it's
Well, hopefully
pressure.
they're not. Hopefully they're not thinking about it. I mean, I think that that's the big thing that I'm hearing you say, and I'm going to push back a little bit on the fashion part, but that there is a recoil effect in movement when we are stable. Then if our nervous system is functioning efficiently, we're going to move and we're not going to think about movement. I think that the second you're actually thinking about, I've got to take a step over here to get out of that guy's way, you're like, that guy's hitting you. Like at a football game, if you were like, I'm gonna go over here,
Yep.
it's over, right? The
Yep.
whole idea is practice and repeat, and your nervous system actually anticipates how you want to move because you've done it a million times, which is why you
Yes.
get better at things. But I
Yes.
also think that what degrades a lot of change in athletes, I think that we can prevent that. And one of the big things that we know is that as we age, we're not only producing less collagen in the collagen matrix called fascia, but the quality of the collagen degrades as we age. So instead of in a
Yes.
microscope it looking like a crimp, it kind of looks like somebody put a flat iron to it. So now you lose that elastic property. I look at
Yes.
bones as spacers, and what maintains the space is the stiff and elastic properties of fascia. And when you have equal stiffness to elasticity, you got tone. And when you're in good tone, it's like an instrument. You
Yep.
can move, you
Right.
can twist, jump, get out of somebody's way, and you don't have to think about it because your
And
body is prepared.
and literally you don't even have to warm up for most stuff.
No, that's it.
And
You can get yourself into it. I agree.
well, and think about the idea that your body is constantly in a state of rebuilding, the death birth cycle of your cells. Even they
Yeah,
say
tissue remodeling all the
yeah, and
time.
like if like 7 years, you're a totally different person. Every cell has been blah blah blah, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, if you're gonna the forces acting within you due to the positions and the transitions that you're engaged in, if it's not systemically in balance, there will be some compensatory restrictive tension that goes up
100%.
when you want it to go down. And so your body's remodeling even when you're healthy. So now you're getting all strong at this imbalance thing. Now you're modeling tissue that when it has to perform in balance, it hasn't been structurally developed to do it or neurologically conditioned to do it. And what's amazing is that the fix is extremely simple. And it's literally when you walk, deliberately for 3 weeks. Okay. You're going to have to, be disciplined for 3 weeks and set a little reminder on your phone that, okay, for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to practice what I'm going to do for the rest of my life without thinking, because I'm going to habituate balanced locomotion. And I'm not talking 99% balance, because that's a slow leak that doesn't make it across the country. Okay. I'm not talking about a balloon with a little hole in it, because that's even worse. I'm talking about 100% balance, like a tiger, like a gazelle, like a lion that chases the gazelle. Everybody should have perfect balance, unimpeded by an external force that's acting upon them. And
Mm.
it's head over foot, and a staircase is the best training modality. All you have to do is just put your head where your foot's gonna be, so that I be there when I get there. So I have, in the textbook, it'll say walking is a series of controlled falls which you recover from every step. And I'm saying no. As an
Yeah,
athlete,
I disagree with that. Yeah.
and everything's falling. We're sitting in chairs, which is why we're not going down, but we're still falling, right? So as an athlete, we just change the lexicon and we say, we never fall, we drop. We drop it into balance so we can spring out of it. We never have to like recover and then try to spring, which took more time and it robbed you of the full power.
So David, I mean, I'm just curious, like, were you an athlete when you were younger? How'd you get here? Because
Yeah.
you're talking about stuff where you're clearly well read, you have clearly trained, you've also created multiple tools. So you're an innovator, you're an entrepreneur, but what's your background?
Yeah.
What were you before you were this?
Well, I think what I am is my athletic inadequacy was below. I can't get paid to play. There's nothing that exists where I will be paid money to go play that sport. Can't do it, right? Not good enough. But I'm a Division 3 college athlete who was good at that level, because there's no Division 4. Ha ha. Um, so I'm good enough to know what's real. And if it's working for me, the first thing I'm gonna do is figure out, okay, what's working, how's it doing it, and now I'm gonna go put it into Chris. And okay, can another person gain from the insight that I've just gotten? And my invention process, the BOSU ball was a flash of inspiration. What if I cut the ball in half? Oh my God! Like, whoa, that's my ticket out! Wow, I was a starving actor, personal trainer, and every other invention since then has been perspiration. So I had the foresight to begin with the end in mind. So right from the beginning, when I invented the BOSU ball, one of the biggest factors in me making the decision to license it and not build my own company with it was that I was purchasing study time. And I'm an intense person, so anything I do, I'll overdo it. And I am passionate about movement because I love it so much personally. It's the ultimate creature comfort, is pain-free capacity to do whatever the hell you want right now.
Right on.
That's creature comfort. And the
Yeah.
mind resides, in the body, because the body is the brain. It's a root system for the brain. Everything is the brain, everything is the brain. And so when we can harmonize locomotion, we have continuity between the upper brain and the lower brain. And when you don't have balance, your nervous system is more nervous than it need be if you would just put your body into balance. And
Yeah,
it's
you
a,
live in fear.
well, yeah, and that fear
You're
is
living in a worry.
and it's a subcortical fear, which is insidious, because
Yeah.
now you've made yourself so strong and you're so tough and you're so right, but you're wrong.
Mhm.
And that turns guys into a-holes. Like, women don't attack me and women don't beat up the BOSU ball, but tens of thousands of guys out there certified in stiffness, Stuart McGill, let's all bend the knee. Doesn't matter that he's selling straitjackets that are the root of dysfunction.
But
And
I know I've heard you kind of talk about Stuart a bunch of times, but his concept of a stiff spine is really about stability, is about core control. But
okay, no, it's not. No, it's not. And I'm going to push back, and it's not against you, it's against Stu. Poet, and I don't know it, but I do. Um, his training is unequivocally that the core does not generate power. The job of the core muscles is to stabilize, well, immobilize the spine in neutral, because you have to keep it in neutral. And he has said, these are the things that he said. So, I mean, it's as the golfer spine passes through neutral at ball contact. Well, At ball contact, he's not in neutral. He never was in neutral. If I do that with my hands, I'm not in neutral. And the golfers,
Yeah,
you know
I
what I mean?
also think that it's kind of like in Pilates when people say, like, oh, we train people in a neutral spine. And I'm like, what's a neutral spine? And they'll say, like where like we imprint the spine on the floor. And I'm like, where's that neutral? And the spine in relationship to what? Right? It's like when
Well,
people talk about a
it,
pelvic position in relationship to what? You can't
yeah,
just
well,
have a
you just,
pelvic position. You got to have it in relationship to your thigh, to your spine, to your head, to your ribs. Like you got to tie the thing together. Otherwise, it's like, I don't know, my pelvis is walking around on its own.
yeah,
Where's the
well,
rest of me?
yes, exactly. There is no stasis. So even when you're poised to pound, there is a slight movement. If we put laser beams on, you would cross the beam if it were an eighth of an inch here and an eighth of an inch here. At some point, you'll cross the beam because there is no such thing as static, right? And stiff is not stable. And you put the nail on the head there, hit the target for what? Stuart McGill, his work is based in the deadlift, the squat, and the bench press because he likes strength. So he idolizes the strongest amongst us who can lift 3,000 pounds in those lifts. And in that case, if you're chasing that rabbit, well, then you might have to sacrifice gait efficiency to win that contest because
Mm.
now you got to be ballooned up to 300 pounds. You're all fat, you're stiff. That's what he's doing. And when I'm injured, my nervous system wants to lock it and be stiff, try to get the salt. And you're like, oh, I got to turn everything. So is the remedy to just do what the body wants to do when it's impaired, which is hold it like that? No. Rope flow is a cure for so many people for back pain because it turns out that the discs don't get that much blood. So it's a mechanical nutritive pressure that exchanges the fluids in these body structures. And if I have a medley of three-dimensional perfection, well, then there's no harm, there's no foul when I move my spine. And that's what allows me to move my body. So
Mm.
he's fundamentally wrong. And he doesn't get a pass. Okay. He does
I,
not get a
I,
pass.
I wonder if I wonder if I got the two of you actually together because I feel like if you two actually sat down and didn't argue but talked together, a lot of actually what you're saying. I mean, I've read many Stuart McGill research papers. I mean, he hundreds of them, and when I read it, I guess my impression of what he's saying is just different. I think I just take the information in differently. But the biggest thing that I think is important for people to hear rather than the controversy is that like motion is lotion. You've got to be able to move, and if isolating an area of the body, like I have a whole methodology I call neurostrength, and everybody's like, so you're just isolating a muscle. I said, no, it's got nothing to do with the muscle. It has to do with these neurological pathways of stabilization that for many people is faulty, and you're functioning on a faulty pattern that your nervous system is hardwired to do. You can't just unwire that. You just become a stronger, more dysfunctional body by doing it. And oftentimes I actually use the BOSU ball as a reference. And some of the things I say to people when they're talking about, when I talk about stability, I'm not talking about physical stability. I'm talking about emotional, neurological, chemical, psychological stability, not how well you balance on a BOSU ball, right? But how your whole body functions from head to toe to stabilize, to ignite proper neural patterns. It's not about muscle, it's about neurological mechanisms. And I think that in this, with what you guys are both talking about, you're talking about performing at a high level, especially because I think that a lot of what you do can parlay over to sports and athletes.
Well, we make everybody stronger because a side center approach is what we do. We need to establish one side, right? Because where are you going to go to when you move? You're going to go to one side. So if you're not training side, what are you doing? What are you doing? And here's the issue that I got with the McGillian Empire, which is the science, which is the NSCA, which is the gatekeeper, GATE, to employment. If you want to
Mm.
work in high school, college, or the pros, well, you better get your CSCS because you're not invited if you don't have that.
Yeah, I did that a long time ago. That
Okay,
didn't
yeah,
work.
well, you did it to dot an I or cross a
I
T.
did. And
You
and
know,
in the
yeah.
end, it was like I just remember taking the test and actually highlighting parts saying this is a poorly phrased question. You guys should rephrase it as this, and then this would be the right answer. But actually, I can't answer
Yeah,
this
yeah.
question.
Well,
So I
right.
actually failed
Yes.
it. I
Yeah.
didn't pass, but I did
Well,
get a letter from Mike who did actually change some of those quiz questions. So I
when,
feel like
when
I was
yeah,
vindicated.
when I took that test, because I took it back in 2002. All right.
Yeah, yeah,
I went to Williams College. So for me, it was an easy test, and I could definitely tell, oh, they want me to answer this one, but I could
exactly.
explain why the other one's right. So
That's right.
it depends on how much you know. And McGill, when I met him at a Perform Better seminar, and Perform Better has sold as many BOSU balls as anybody else through the years. So, I was a welcome guest from Perform Better, but I was very unwelcome amongst the presenters, okay, because they don't like the BOSU ball. Because in 2007, a study done on Dynadiscs, which are totally different, can't that the nervous system will never be comfortable on a Dynadisc, and it's 100% comfortable on a BOSU ball, but that's just beside the point. That study with 19 soccer players on Dynadisc proved that BOSU balls make healthy athletes weaker. When I met McGill, okay,
19 athletes. You can't
yeah,
really,
hey,
I mean,
listen,
anybody would argue that point.
they never touched a BOSU ball. But BOSU ball was the punching bag for the category of instability. Never mind that the BOSU ball itself is extremely stable when the dome is up. And so now you have a convex trampoline that's not going anywhere, and you could load it with 10 times body weight, and
Yeah.
it's not going to get hurt, or neither are you. So what happened was at the end of his big three, seminar, 500 people, were 7 people standing around. I said, "Oh, hi, Dr. McGill. I'm David Weck. I invented the BOSU ball." He literally just looked at me and said, "Good luck with that," and turned around. And
Yeah.
it's
You know,
it's and it's his disciples, right? Who, if you're a third tier disciple of McGill, like you're not asked to present anywhere, nobody knows who you are. The way that you inure yourself to them for your benefit is you get really rabid about what they're saying, and then you police the internet to go tell everybody who's not doing that you're a charlatan, you're this. And that hurt my business big time, because if you go into most college strength rooms, most pro strength rooms, the BOSU ball is not welcome. Some it is, but most it's not. And it's vilified. So it's not even just damn, whatever, I don't care. It's no, that thing sucks because it makes healthy athletes weaker. Now, what does that do to the 100 people who went through the program? How likely are they to buy a BOSU ball for their kids 7 years from now? Less likely, right? Because it's been
I wonder
vilified.
how many people even know about that study, because perfectly honest, I never heard
No,
anything bad
right,
about the
right. But
BOSU
but you
ball.
you need you need not see the stone that McGill cast into the pond, but you will feel the ripples, because somewhere right now, 100 trainers are instructing the Paloff press literally as we speak. Okay, if you cover the globe, you have
I
at
think
least 100 trainers doing
I
this exercise that uproots the body, habituates freak out and freeze, has nothing to do with fight flight success. It's 100% failure if you do nothing, and that's their foundation for functional movement, is to lock down the spine, to keep it neutral. And if it bends, to the side, well, he's going to get hurt, and it's going to be less performance. And it's like, dude, you can't even
just
explain.
don't think that's what his research is
No,
talking about,
one
though. No.
hundred. No, okay, okay. His research. We'll
Yeah.
take the spine of a pig. Okay, he exists horizontal. It's a little different, right? And he's dead. Oh, okay. And we're just going to bend it like this. I don't need to do that experiment. Okay, I
But
need to
you
see it.
should, honestly, David, you should go out. I'm not telling you what you should do. Anytime I
No,
say
I.
anybody
Yeah,
should do anything, they don't have to
I
listen to me.
love
But
it.
I think that doing a counteracting research study using the BOSU ball is your best bet to prove something wrong. Because something that I know about research is, first of all, it does cost a lot of money, it takes a lot of time. But I've seen a lot of research paper that says, this is it, and then 5 years later somebody comes out and they say, no, this is it, and then 3 more years go by and then somebody says, well, actually it's this. So there's always controversy in research and research papers. This is the bad news. Maybe everybody should listen to me here, that sometimes a research paper comes out and then there's another research paper that completely negates the old one, but that old research paper is still in circulation and you can still read it, but it's absolutely not right. They don't take a research paper that's been published and pull it. You can always find it. And that's the problem with research, is that a lot of times we are proving things that we thought were true, and now with technology and fMRIs and all these other things, it's actually not true. So I would just think, because I think that's a great tool
Well, yes,
in
and I think
general. So
and
it's a
I
good
think
tool.
Well, the reason why I will never fund a study is because if I funded the study, that's like the cigarette company funding the study. You guys hate me. I present you science. You're going to tell me, oh, well, you funded it. So, okay. So I'm not going to play their game. Fosbury defined high jump, Weck defines locomotion. And if you're teaching something different than me, especially opposite from me, head in the middle, spine stiff, that's what he teaches, and that's unequivocal. There is no pass for that. And I'm the guy saying head over foot. So we're 100% opposite in what we're saying. All right, yeah. So let's figure out who's correct. Let's
Yeah,
figure out. And
everybody who's listening who might be in research, I feel a research paper,
well,
maybe
no,
a
well, the
thesis
one
project.
the one that we've already begun to do research on my new product called the Propulse Power Vest.
Yeah,
And
that's
this,
what I want to talk about. I
yeah,
actually want to talk about the also the Propulse Speed Trainer and the
yes.
Soul Step. I want to talk about some of these other things because while the BOSU ball might have put you on the map and given you some funding to do other things, you've invented these other tools. So first, what is it that drives your creativity? Because you are crazy creative. How do you approach that process of inventing? Because I think that there's a lot of people out there who are thinking about creating a tool. And I don't think people realize how hard it is sometimes to create something and then mass produce it. It really takes a particular mind. So talk a little bit about some of these other tools and what inspires you to create these.
Okay. I think what I do is I'm obsessive. So it gives me an advantage in the sense that a lot of my brain time and energy and body tinkering and figuring out, it's just what I would like to do anyway.
Mhm.
So I do it a lot of the time. And I lose my phone 6 times a day and I'm talking on it and then the battery dies because I'm just not even here for those little minutia. I'm thinking. So
Yeah.
I'm constantly always thinking, and I do my retail rounds. I check, okay, how many BOSU balls they sell at Dick's, at Target, and I go into, Ross to see if I can find any ideas for invention. I walk Home Depot aisles for an hour, just looking at stuff, saying, oh, what might this do? I combine this and this. So it's this constant process of throw it on the wall and see what sticks. And
Mhm.
then you get a functional prototype to prove concept. And without a functioning prototype, you got a napkin with a piece of pencil on it. You don't have anything to figure out if it is worth pursuing or not.
Yeah, that's for
Um,
sure.
and then what happens is the deeper your understanding becomes, the more effective you are at inventing because your understanding deepens. And now you're dealing with causal factors that other people don't even understand. They can't invent what I'm inventing because they don't know reality. They're stuck in sort of this, the academic box of, oh, it's this, oh, it's this. And it's just like common sense gets thrown out the window. And, Greg Glassman, CrossFit founder, he invited me to his Broken Science initiative, and science is not honest, okay, at the highest levels, and we're in exercise. So the
Very
science,
nepotistic.
no, but
Science is very
and
nepotistic.
yeah, and the scientist of unassisted, locomotion. It's not golf clubs where someone makes money. It's not bicycles where someone makes money. When it's Lance Armstrong in a wind tunnel and they figure out that the handlebar has to be like that instead of that, that took money and it is faster, so it's valid. Okay. If you're talking exercise science, where there's no product to sell, there's no money to be made. Well, now it's just up to the academics. And then, we think this, we think that. And they're like, it's like trying to learn what a tree is with a magnifying glass, an inch away from the bark. And now you're describing, oh, it does this. No, step back. It's a tree, dude. And you're eating the fruit. You're not eating the bark. So, okay. You know what I mean? It's, it's maddening for me. But anyway, back to the invention. Propulsors. I'll tell you exactly how propulsors were invented. I invented the RMT club, which is a Indian club, training club that has a shifting weight that removes inertia because when the weight is shifting, I don't feel the effects of inertia until it hits. And then all of the inertia from the momentum gets concentrated into this moment that boom creates that fascial recoil that gives you power.
Mhm.
And I created a category, upper body, open chain, plyometrics. If I have a pulsar in my hand, right? If I have a pulsar in my hand, I can create a redirection of force that is faster than I can do unassisted, or at least just as fast. And now I have the training of the pattern, the perfection of the pattern, because running, you just direct it to the ground. But the arm coming forward and running, we're not missing the opportunity to punctuate that step with a boom, a pulse of down power. If I just swing up, I got to wait for the momentum to pull me back, versus the way that the best athletes actually do it is both arms provide down force, like it's down force, down force, down force. And so what happened was in 2010, I discovered a position called the core fist. I got there through Chinese medicine, a lot of weird stuff, but this is an architectural arrangement of the bones of the hand that triangulate the fingers. So it's strong. You can't collapse that structure. Whereas if I do that, that's the weak link and each one's on its own. But when I do this, they're not on their own. And that shape right there, just that can hold so much. And as soon as it goes there, it can't hold anything. And this, as soon as I discovered it, that's when I discovered it is down. It's down. And then I thought of Deion Sanders. Oh man, Deion Sanders. 6 years go by. I'm teaching this to everybody that I meet, right? It's a little laborious. They have to want to learn because I don't have a training device yet. And I go to the swap meet twice every weekend. And I just roam the swap meet. I find four little dumbbells. They weigh 2 pounds each, and they look like BOSU balls. It's a blue arc with a bar that you hold on to. They're 50 cents each, and there are four of them. Here's $2. I will be back for these two, and I will take these two now. And I started pulsing around the swap meet. But it's a solid weight that I'm doing, and it's 2 pounds. So I'm dealing with all of the inertia of the dead weight. And I was so sore because it was too traumatic to deal with the inertia. It's not that, it's and so
Hmm.
I bought those things. Then I come home. I'm like, wait a minute, I have an RMT club. That shifts weight. That takes the inertia out. And I take a little pill bottle. I put some RMT stuff in. I'm like, oh my God, this works. It works. I just removed the inertia. I could do the pattern just as fast with them than without them, but I'm training it with an upper body open chain plyometric that did not exist before the pulsars. Every athlete that we have ever trained from kid to pro, and pro, some of them, Hall of Fame, they are faster up a set of stairs with the propulsors in their hands than without the propulsors in their hand. And if I'm going to tell you I'm putting weight, steel, metal at the distal extremity, and now you're going to run faster, I would tell you that's nonsense until you explained it to me. Okay.
Hmm.
And so what happened was in my patent, I did a version where it has steel shot in it, where you have to go faster than gravity to get the beads to the top so that when you stop, they go boom. Okay. And that requires you to go faster than gravity with the hands. The center of mass only goes at the speed of gravity. You don't have anything to accelerate down. Down only goes the speed of gravity, but
Interesting. Yeah.
the hands and feet go faster. And so this is effective because it's in the hands. Now, to put it on the body, I had to create, this is a prototype. I had to create a spring and a weight. So now the potential is already there. These at rest are resting here in the bottom. And it's the speed down that lets them go up relative to this. This is already up, which means that if I go up, it's like I don't need to go down first in a sense. And then when I do go down, it goes boom and it springs. So
Uh-huh.
this one here, like I would have to go like faster than gravity. This one is just boom. And so when you put these on the body, what happens is like let's just say it's a gate run, right? So
Hmm.
3 stages of the ground strike or ground interaction: land, load, launch. Okay. The timing on this is when this is on your body because it's spring loaded. In between land and max load, this comes into play. It spikes force. You're hitting the ground with more force, and you're getting off the ground in the
Right. With more
same
propulsion.
in the same
Yeah.
amount of time.
You,
And
you
this is science done on a treadmill that measures every metric you could ever want. Pogo jumps, every metric that
yeah.
you could want, and we are getting unprecedented scientific evidence, right? And this guy will probably run a study, or PhD students will run a study, because it's the greatest opportunity in the world to put yourself on the map. If you want to be in the science world, there's profit in prophecy. And if you know where this whole thing's going, because it's already here,
Yeah.
balanced locomotion,
Yeah.
so science will be taken care of, but the invention process is a succession of trial and error. And when you find something that has value, you drill into it and you figure out, okay, how can I make it even better? And how can I instruct people to succeed fast? One of my inventions is actually hanging on the wall right here. It's called a quick hands bola trainer. Those are foam balls and an elastic cord. And the learning curve to have fun with it is longer than it can be in the modern era. So if Duncan, who invented the yo-yo and has sold hundreds of millions of units through the years, if he were to have launched the yo-yo today, it would fail because there's not enough kids willing to spend the time to have fun with it, because it's not a video game that's fun day one and fun because 500 engineers are preying upon that child's mind with a
I
dopamine
loved my
spike.
yo-yo. I was kind of obsessed with my yo-yo when I was a kid, but you're right. I don't know if kids today would want to do it. But I want to go back because you're talking about a couple of things here that are like super, exciting with the recoil that David's talking about with this new vest, right? That if I'm coming down, it's going to increase my force, which actually builds more pressure into the fascial tissues. So when you were telling me about this, I thought, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense because what it'll do when we like a basketball player, right? Basketball players don't just bounce off the ground. No, they come down and their
Yes.
fascia stores elasticity, is storing energy so that as their body is storing it, the nervous system is picking up actually how high they're going to jump so that when they come down the height that they go, the nervous system is now it's actually programmed in us that as we come back down, it is going to deal with that force load and create better elastic properties. So I would tell anybody you want to make sure that you're already doing any type of bounding, jumping, moving, so that you already have elastic property. You don't want to like blow a tendon. But I think that these types of tools for athletes looking for sprinting, fast running, quick motion, I think that this is a huge opportunity to create. I mean, I think it's a great product that you're going to be putting out there to I think improve the elastic recoil of the fascial tissues around the tendinous structures. I think people will run further, faster, and reserve more energy because their fascia will start storing more energy. And maybe,
Yep.
just maybe, we might actually beat one of the Kenyans in. I don't
In
think
the
so.
distance race,
Maybe.
yeah. Well, actually, I coach a Kenyan team
Oh
just
yeah.
remotely. I work with them. They've they've done a dozen international victories since I started working with them. Every runner is PR'd. They set a course record in the Paris half marathon. What their best runner is shooting for, like, 202 to try to ultimately get in that, top 1, 2, 3 range. And I trained him with pulsers, head over foot, coiling, and ropes. And so he just sent me a video yesterday of them doing a long incline, and they're all driving up with the pulsers. Because
Mm,
in distance running, there's no urgency. You're only doing 3 steps a second. It's not that many. So they bounce the arms because it's a fascial thing. And
yeah.
the investment that you're talking about, where you're storing the energy, the least time in the bank, the more energy gets expressed. Because for me, fascia is, it transforms when it's fast, it transforms, and it deforms when it's slow.
That's right.
So you know what I mean? And so
I do.
it's the fast that makes it powerful. And if we look at power equals force divided by time multiplied by the distance, that's power. And if I increase force, my power goes up, all things equal, but it only goes up linear for the force. So 1 = 1, 2 = 2. The denominator, that t, the time, when that gets smaller, you get an exponential growth in power.
Hmm.
And no one has ever addressed this time of the plyometric to give you more force, but less time at the same time. And it's an athletic advantage as far as training stimuli go, and an advantage in athletics makes it a necessity. And that's why there's so many people taking the drugs, and it's a cat and mouse game. That I got a new drug and they can't sense it yet, but if I don't take the drug, I know that other guy has a drug they can't find. So it turns into that escalating arms race. This is good for you, And it gives you a distinct advantage. And we're getting the data that proves it and the anecdotal every single time. So
Yeah, I mean, I
this is a
think you got it.
universal. This is a
Yeah,
universal.
I think it really is. I think it's a great idea, a big opportunity for people to learn more. And again, I think it's a great opportunity for research. So let me ask you this one. What's the most unconventional exercise that you've ever tried?
I'll back it up to my three-stage plan. So the stage one is ubiquitous in fitness and sports. And ubiquitous means the zero-sum game of training the best athletes in the world, where you're not just looking to fill 5 extra minutes, you're looking what could come out that if we're going to put that in, because there's no more room in the circle here. Weck is the center of the circle. You have to use my power vest. You're going to be good. Right. And it's the most you have to use product that I've ever invented because it's a distinct advantage and
Yeah.
it happens quickly.
Is
It's
that
a
best out on the market now, David? Can
we sold a bunch of them to our innovation group, and and now the first purchase order has been made for thousands of units. And when we receive those, that's when we launch.
love it.
And so far now it's just, you know, I don't know, I think it's like 300 of them. That was just like the first batch to iron out kinks and be like, okay, we don't have a problem with thousands. If we have a problem, it's only
Hmm.
hundreds. So that's also an inventing process. Let me just take a little aside for the listeners to say, if you're the little guy, okay, and you're not a big company, the inventing process as I see it is this. You have 3 trains and they all leave the station properly. So you have the intellectual property, that's the first and foremost. You can't disclose it till you have the patent pending. Okay. Patent pending, it's invisible. Nobody knows what you have for 18 months. And that's very useful in negotiation because they can't see and evaluate what the strength of your intellectual property is for 18 months before it gets published and then prosecuted. Right.
Yeah,
And
unfortunately, if you're like me, if you have I had a patent pending for a low frequency vibration roller, and now there's vibration rollers all over the place because I couldn't get it together because I couldn't have the money to do it, and these bigger
yes,
companies took it over. So you're right. Trademarks, copyrights,
yes.
patents, get yourself
Patents.
legally buttoned.
Yes.
They're tough. Patents are tough. They're very expensive, and
yes.
they're easy to circumvent, and you got to figure out how to make them less circumventable.
That is very true. I spent inordinate amounts of time on my patents about like, does the comma come before or after the
Oh
word
yeah, yeah,
because the scope of that claim changes.
yeah.
So
Wait, so that's
IP,
one. What's
so
second?
IP. The second one is manufacture.
Yes.
So in the beginning, you're building viable prototypes that you can sell into the marketplace or gift to an influencer, whatever you're going to do, right? And that manufacturer, the prototypes feed it and build it whilst you're now seeking mass production in a factory. Okay. So you're running under that ball to get manufacturing in place. And marketing is the third. IP, intellectual property, manufacture, marketing.
That's right.
Once you have the patent pending, your manufacture of the prototype is what gives you the marketing, because now it's something new in the marketplace. It's protected with the wall of, patent pending. Trademarks going to ultimately be more valuable than the patent if you succeed, because the
That's right.
patent will expire and the trademark will, Coca-Cola, what's that worth, right? So those are the 3 trains that have to leave the station in that succession if you're going to have a chance as the little guy. But the little guy needs money too. So
Yeah, yeah, it takes a lot. I mean, I know
it
because I
does.
mean, again, I'm a business owner. I've created multiple products, and I always say it was like I'm a body worker. I never thought I was going to be inventing products, but there were no soft tools on the market. And much like you, I was lacking myself in my office playing around with balls and rocks and rollers and PVC piping wrapped in bubble
Yep.
wrap and duct taped it together, and just was trying different things to simulate what I was doing with my hands in this light touch way. And when I first came out with my first tool, I didn't have the money to do it, and I reached out to a big company and said, I have this idea for this new roller, and they said, write it all up. I had no ideas about trademarks and patents at that point, and they were like, oh yeah, we've got that product coming out in 6 months. We don't need you, and so they stole it, And so I just thought that
Right,
was
right,
like
right.
perhaps one of the worst experiences. So take it from people
Well,
who have created
I've
products. Don't do that.
I have spent, I'm going to say millions, but it's not a lot of millions, but a million's a lot. And
Yeah.
I've spent more significantly more than a million in court, well, it one of them actually went all the way to trial, but that wasn't a patent infringement. But I've spent a ton of money defending the patent.
Defending, yeah, and you gotta
Yeah,
be ready to defend it if you really have something great, and
right, right.
it is, I mean, it is not easy to be an innovator, it can be very frustrating, it can be very like you live in a silo, but if you've got a great passion and you've got a great product and you think it's gonna really transform people's lives, I always say to people, "Go for
Well,
it."
and I mean, and anyone's free to reach out to me. I do inventor consults, and I'm just very honest with people.
Love that.
Randy from TRX came to me, Randy Hetrick, back in 2000, we'll call it 3 or 4. And TRX was not on the market at that point. What he had was he had the military version and a military contract, which gives you a consistent cash flow where you go to build the professional and then consumer market for fitness. And the advice that I gave to Randy, and he did it, was I said, with your product, wait on retail. Do not do a retail deal when you're trying to sell some straps for 150 bucks. Like that, on all right, see you, Chris. It it would be, you know, guaranteed failure if you tried to sell straps without a story for 150 bucks,
That's
right?
right, and the story really is what made that such a
Yeah.
huge and it's a
And
great
yes,
product too.
and
I love
the
Randy, I love the product.
yes, it's just an
Yeah.
incredibly variable product that can be progressed for low or high, so it's applicable for everyone. And how he did it was he did the trade show circuit just the way I did with the BOSU ball. And he's really smart and really, go getter. You drop him behind enemy lines, he'll win and meet you at the meeting place, in 4 days. Um, so you have to play it smart. And Randy, after my meeting, he had a Costco meeting. And he sat at the table with the Costco people and he said, you know what, guys, I really am excited about this, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to follow up on this conversation whilst we build the professional market that spokes out to consumer market. And that's what I had to do because a BOSU ball, if you don't even know what it is, and there's this little big pizza box on the shelf, and it costs $100, like what do I do, right? $100,
Right.
that's not discretionary. That's like, oh, am I spending the money or not? And so what I had to do was I had to get it out there so there was awareness, and I sort of subscribed in the beginning to I called it the rule of seven. A consumer has to see, don't even need to be aware that they saw, but it has to come across their field of vision 7 times before it sinks in that now they are consciously aware that if they see it, they can recall it,
That's
right?
right. Yeah,
And
yeah,
and we and we did that.
yeah, you did, and again, BOSU, I mean, I think if you don't know what a BOSU ball is, you're probably hiding under a rock. I mean, you probably sold millions of those around the world. So, first of all, amazing with that. All right, so last question for you. I ask everybody who comes on Anatomical Gangster the same question. If you could tell somebody something that, like maybe a life lesson that you've learned in your life that kind of changed the course of your life, it
Mm.
maybe changed your thought about the human experience, it changed how you relate to other people, and you told somebody that it might actually change the course of their life, what would it be?
Well, for me, I think having 2 children is sort of the ultimate grounding aspect of my life. I I've gone clinically insane 4 times. So without family, friends, doctor, I could be under a bridge mumbling numbers and not came back. So I think what keeps me tethered to the here and now and not drifting off into the esoteric, oh shit, like you're not even here anymore,
Mm,
is my children. And I lived a very exciting life. I was in Manhattan as a young guy actor, 10 years of decadence. And I I see now my priorities. It's 2 things. It's my work and it's my family and friends. And I'm a very boring person because all I care about is my work and my family and friends. And
that's
so that's it. So what I would say is find that which you could be willing to die for and use that as your ultimate motivation to overcome any challenge and never give up.
yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we have to have something to land. We need to be able to come back to some place that keeps us sane because we are in a world that is a little bit mental sometimes. I love that answer.
A lot of it.
A lot of mental. Well, David, this is such a great conversation. Thank you so much for coming on Anatomical Gangster. For all of you guys who are listening, I hope you enjoyed this conversation and you subscribe to the channel. Share this one with your friends and go check out David. How can they find you if they want to come check you out? Where's the easiest way to find David Weck?
Well, you go to weckmethod.com for all things Weck Method. The David Weck on Instagram and X. Those are the only social platforms that I use. And they're fun. Like I'm a wacky guy.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
really
you pull out so much great stuff on Instagram. I love when I like if I'm just randomly like I'm going to scroll, you always show up and I always stop and listen to you whether you're in your car or you're out there with your your jump ropes or anything. It's great information. I think that if anything you get people to think out of the box and anybody keeping people out of a box I think is a good person. So I really
thank
appreciate
you.
you coming. I dig it.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot for being on the show.
Thank you, Sue.